Well, hi, my little Nevinger artists. I had put this on my to-do list for some while to read stories and post on YouTube. Now seems like a great time to take advantage of the time allowing me to do that. The only problem is I only have one book at home that's really related to the art room, but it's a good one. It's kind of a chapter book, so we'll get through it, I think. And then if it comes to it, I will maybe just order a few new storybooks from Amazon and do that. My extensive library is locked up in my classroom. So here we go. Well, the book I want to read to you guys is called Kid Artists. And it's kind of about the story of kids when they were artists, as much as we can know. All right, so not a ton of pictures, a lot of words, but I think you will like it anyway. So let me just read the first part to you. There are more pictures than that. Not every kid grows up to be a great artist, but every great artist definitely starts out as a kid. Painters get their start by doodling in school notebooks. Sculptors begin by playing with mud in their backyards. And most illustrators working today can name their favorite comic book, video game, or animated cartoon. This book tells stories from the lives of 16 legendary artists. You will surely recognize some of the names, but you've probably never heard such curious details about the artists' lives. That's because these stories take place before these painters, sculptors, and illustrators were famous. Back when they were still kids doing homework, drawing in their sketchbooks, and dealing with moms, dads, brothers, and sisters. It's okay if you're not familiar with all the names in this book. You don't need to be. It's not necessary to see Andy Warhol's artworks to understand how much he did not want to go to school. He would have really liked this time off. Whew. He disliked school so much that every morning a grown-up had to drag him kicking and screaming out of the house. How many of y'all can relate to that? On the other hand, you're probably quite familiar with the works of Dr. Seuss. Even so, you might not know that, as a kid, he was teased and bullied by his classmate. This book tells you why. Here we see Warhol getting dragged to school. I assume that's Warhol, or maybe that's also Dr. Seuss. I'm not really sure, but he's getting dragged. And then we see poor Dr. Seuss getting bullied, and we know that's him because it's got his little one fish, two fish, red fish, no blue fish. Then there's Jean-Michel Basquiat. His family had very little money, so he had to sleep in a crawl space under the stairs. Reminds me of a certain character with the little lightning bolt on his head. And who could forget Charles Schultz? He entertained millions with comics about Charlie Brown and Snoopy. But did you know that his first published comic was about his family's real-life dog? Each of the artists in this book had a special talent. Many of them also faced special challenges, whether it was recovering from illness and injuries, like Frida Kahlo. I think a lot of you know her story. We've done a lot of lessons on Frida. Or dealing with an overprotective mother, like Yoko Ono. Who knows Yoko? Or surviving a gruesome childhood accident like Jackson Pollock. And I did not know about this one. That's going to be fun to learn about. But I'm sorry, Jackson, you lost your finger. The kid artists all learned how great they could be by surmounting huge obstacles. Or in the case of painter Emily Carr, just by rolling around in the mud with some pigs. That sounds like fun. Give me a little dirty. We hope that this book will inspire you to draw, paint, and write stories of your very own. Maybe one day, too, I read that wrong. Maybe one day, you too, will find your work hanging in a museum or published in the pages of a book. But even if that doesn't happen, we know you'll have a lot of fun just being creative and testing the limits of your imagination. That's how all of these kid artists got started. They made art, they made a difference, and they made history. So, in this time that you have off, make some art, write your story, write your history, and who knows, maybe there'll be a kid artist book written about you. All right, and we're just going to dive right into the first chapter, which in here it's called Part 1, Which way do I move? I'm new to this. Part 1, Call of the Wild. And we're going to learn about all these things, it seems like. Secret caves, creepy crawlers, and animals galore. These kid artists were inspired again and again by the great outdoors. And we stopped with Da Vinci. The marvelous Medusa shield. Ooh. Anybody knows anything about Greek mythology? There's a Medusa shield reference there. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out which way to move here because this is awkward. All right, he's best known for painting the Mona Lisa. Everyone, show me Mona Lisa. Good job. A portrait of a woman with a mysterious and beguiling smile. But the Italian Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci's lost masterpiece was a terrifying vision straight out of a book of mythological monsters. Arr. Nature always fascinated Leonardo da Vinci, who would grow up to be not only a great artist, but also one of the Renaissance world's eminent scientists. Much of what he knew about animal and plant life he learned by taking long, solitary walks through the rolling hills of his native Tuscany, carrying a sketchbook in his hand. While you are alone, you're completely yourself. This is me, guys. No makeup. This is me alone being myself. I can relate. He once said, all right, I messed that part up because the transition there, but that's what he said. All right, you should say to yourself, I will go my own way and withdraw apart from others, the better to study the form of natural objects. The bird is saying, make sure you capture my natural majesty. That's how the bird sounds. But as fascinating as it was, the natural world could also be a source of great mystery and terror. Young Leonardo learned that lesson one day when he was walking alone in the countryside, hoping to see the multitude of varied and strange forms created by nature. Weird rocks, weird trees. Oh, my goodness. He stumbled upon the entrance to a large cavern, deeper and darker than any he had ever seen. Leonardo lingered by the entrance to the cave for a long time. He bent down, peering into it, looking for signs of movement. He was afraid, but also intensely curious. Did he discern a monster lurking inside? Leonardo never found out. He was too scared to explore any farther. But the vision of the cave creature stayed with him for the rest of his life, fueling his desire to depict the marvels of the natural world, and on one memorable occasion, the unnatural world as well. In 1466, that's a long time ago, when Leonardo was 14 years old, his father sent him to Florence to work as an apprentice to a renowned painter, sculptor, and goldsmith named Andrea del Verrocchio. Life in Verrocchio's workshop was often tedious. Leonardo spent his days grinding pigments, shopping for groceries, and running errands for the master. He worked hard and was rewarded with invaluable instruction in the arts of drawing, painting, and anatomy. Leonardo quickly became one of Verrocchio's prized pupils and grew into a formidable artist in his own right. One day, according to a 16th century art historian named Giorgio Vasari, a farmer friend presented Leonardo's father, Ser Piero da Vinci, with a round shield made of fig wood. He asked to have it decorated in Florence. Leonardo's father passed the job on to his son, instructing Leonardo to paint an image on the front of the shield. What should I paint? I don't know, something scary. It's supposed to be young Leo there. In his quest for inspiration, Leonardo thought long and hard, racking his brain for a suitably terrifying subject to adorn the warrior's shield. What could he paint that would be so horrible that it would frighten anyone who gazed upon it? Perhaps it was then that Leonardo thought back to his past experience of peering into the darkened cave and seeing a monster. All of a sudden, the idea came to him. Leonardo remembered the Greek legend of Medusa, a monstrous gorgon whose hair was made of poisonous snakes. It was said that anyone who looked upon her face would instantly be turned to stone. What better way to vanquish your opponent than by petrifying him with Medusa's glowering head on your shield? And so, that's what Leonardo painted. He retreated to his room in Verrocchio's workshop, directing all the power of his imagination into creating a hideous image. A hideous image of the serpent-haired Medusa leaping out from behind a mound of broken stones, spitting venom, breathing fire, and sending smoke pouring out of her nostrils. It was a horrible sight to behold, and Leonardo loved it. When the shield was finished, Leonardo summoned his father to pick it up. Ser Piero arrived in the early morning, eager to return the commission to the farmer and collect payment. He knocked on his son's door, but when Leonardo cracked it only a little and told him to wait a moment. He then went back and ran into his room and shuttered the window, creating total darkness with only a single shaft of light illuminating the shield. Then Leonardo beckoned his father to enter. "Behold, my masterpiece!" Looks pretty terrifying to me. And if you know anything about Greek mythology, Medusa was actually defeated with a shield. It was a mirror shield. Yeah, so he could, whoever the hero was, I can't remember right now. Maybe it was, nope, I don't remember. He defeated Medusa with a mirror shield, so he's able to see where Medusa was in the shield without looking at her eyes directly, so he wouldn't turn to stone, and then off with her head. As soon as he saw the shield, Ser Piero staggered backward, convinced that a gargoyle or some other awful monstrosity had perched itself on the shield. He turned to run away, but Leonardo stopped him. "The work answers the purpose for which it was made," he declared. "That was the effect I wanted to produce. Take the shield." "I can't, it's too terrifying." Ser Piero refused the shield. He could not bear the thought of subjecting anyone else to the same macabre surprise he had just experienced. Maybe he shouldn't have, darkened all the lights, kept it on. Maybe then they would have taken it. Instead, he found another shield, painted it with the image of a heart pierced by a dart, and gave it to his farmer friend. So whatever happened to Leonardo's Medusa? According to legend, Ser Piero sold the shield to a group of Florentine merchants for 100 ducats. They, in turn, sold the artwork to the Duke of Milan for 3 times that price. It's kind of like what they're doing with toilet paper now, right? But no one is really sure. The shield has long since vanished, a lost treasure from the old master's childhood that continues to haunt us. Who knows? Perhaps one day someone will discover the horrifying shield buried among the treasures in a dusty antique store. I doubt that. This gives me an idea. Why don't you, on a piece of paper, design your own Medusa shield, or a shield with something that you think is terrifying and scary that would maybe knock your parents back off their feet. If you have any spare cardboard lying around, you could make your own shield out of cardboard, and you could just attach a little loop on the back with some extra piece of cardboard. Show me. Post on our Google Classroom. If you need to know how to access it, the info is on Class Dojo. I miss you guys already. It's weird not being in school. Tune in tomorrow for another chapter. I have to figure out how to stop recording. All right, bye.